Welcome back to my inner sanctum. I'm your hostess, Countess Elizabeth, mistress of the macabre. Trains were the most popular form of transportation in the early 1900s, since it was an era before the popularization of the car. Maybe where you are, my fiends, trains are still widely used as a cross-country transport. However, where I am, they're not widely used. Today, we will look at the case of the Great Train Wreck of 1918, which was the deadliest train wreck in U.S. history. So, let us take the ticket and wait on the platform for the next inbound train so we can explore our grotesque curiosity. On July 9th, 1918, near Nashville, Tennessee, in an area known as Dutchman's Curve, two trains collided head-on, creating such a frightful noise that many claimed it could be heard for miles. It would be the deadliest train wreck in U.S. history. It was 7 a.m. on a warm summer morning, and both trains on the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis line were running late. The westbound, or outbound, passenger train to Memphis had just pulled out of Nashville's Union Station, packed with passengers. The eastbound train was heading inbound to the Nashville station from Memphis. Both veteran engineers had orders. The inbound train had the right-of-way on the curve's one-way track. The outbound train would have to wait at the double tracks just outside the station for the other train to pass. But something went horribly wrong. A green light was given to the outbound train to proceed, meaning someone had seen or heard the incoming train pass. But when the tower operator checked his papers, there was no record of the Nashville-bound train coming through. In reality, the inbound train was running 35 minutes behind schedule. The operator frantically telegraphed the dispatcher, who immediately sent an urgent message back. "Stop him," was his order. But how? At the time, there was no direct communications with the engineers on either train. Only a warning whistle was used for emergencies. The whistle blared, but the outbound train was too far along for anyone to hear it. By this time, the inbound train was chugging to the curve. Both trains were moving at a top speed of 60 miles per hour. Then a moment of sheer terror. The engineer of the outbound train caught a glimpse of the other train coming around the bend, directly in his path. He pulled the emergency brake, but there wasn't enough time. At about 7:20 a.m., the two trains collided while traversing a section of single track known as the Dutchman's Curve in the present-day neighborhood of Belmead. The impact derailed them both and destroyed several wooden cars. That sound could be heard for miles. The ground quaked, and the waters of nearby Richland Creek trembled, one writer described. The wooden cars crumbled and hurled sideways, hanging over the embankment. One train telescoped the other. In all, 101 people were killed, mostly traveling soldiers and African-American laborers from Tennessee and Arkansas, though some sources report the dead to be closer to 121. The wreck was said to have injured 171 people total. Many of the dead were leaving or returning to work at the munitions plant in the Nashville area. Besides what went wrong, there was more scrutiny. After only a few days of front-page news, the press was accused of being mostly dismissive. Perhaps it was due to the number of war stories that filled the papers at the time. But some believe the wreck itself, while tragic, wasn't exploitative enough. Mostly the dead were minority migrants and laborers. Many were killed beyond recognition. Basically, it just wasn't as easily sensationalized as other disasters at the time, like wrecks involving circus trains, or the fate of a fun-filled chartered steamboat. 4 days before the Nashville train wreck, another tragedy hit the papers that shook a nation. On July 5th, a wooden steamboat named the Columbia collapsed and sank into the middle of the Illinois River, near Peoria, Illinois. The 87 dead were mostly women and children enjoying a holiday cruise to a local amusement park. The survivor stories that followed were stark and dramatic. "The only thing that kept me afloat," one passenger reported, "were the bodies beneath me." The investigation that followed the train wreck cited human error, specifically blaming the man who could not defend himself, the engineer of the outbound train, David Kennedy. Only speculation supports the theory that Kennedy mistook a switch engine hauling empty cars for the inbound train. Kennedy was killed instantly in the wreck. A folded schedule was reportedly found underneath his body. An investigation by the Interstate Commerce Commission, ICC, attributed the cause of the accident to several factors, notably serious errors by the crew of train number 4 and tower operators, all of whom failed to properly account for the presence of train number 1 on the line. The ICC also pointed to a lack of proper system for the accurate determination of trains' positions, and noted that the wooden construction of the cars greatly increased the number of fatalities. The other engineer, William Floyd, was also killed. He was 1 day away from retirement. Had the signal tower operator properly left his signal at danger? Had the conductor monitored his train's progress rather than entrusting it to a subordinate? Or had the crew inspected the train's register at Shops Junction as required? The accident would never have happened. So what it comes down to is a serious human error that led to this disaster. The wreck provided the impetus for most railroads to switch to an all-steel passenger car, as they were seen as safer than the wooden passenger cars, which caused many fatalities in this incident. The Nashville wreck to this day is the deadliest train accident in the history of the United States. Well, that was truly a grotesque tale, where human error led to the deaths of many people. This incident seemed like many things went wrong to where it got to a point where 2 trains were on the track at the same time. I also guess that's the reason why passenger train cars aren't made out of wood, since apparently that's why there were so many dead people. I mean, to me it just makes sense that they make the passenger train cars out of metal. To me it seems like common sense that the wood would break apart easier than steel in an impact. But I guess they had to learn the hard way, just like with the comet in its round windows. May the souls of those who died in the incident rest in peace. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe, like, and share if you would also like to keep exploring our grotesque curiosity. We will meet again in the darkness of the night.